Welcome to the James Museum of Western and Wildlife Art in St. Petersburg, Florida. And one of my favorite galleries in the James Museum is the New West Gallery. And that's where I'm talking to you right now with great Billy Schenck in the background. New West is contemporary paintings, contemporary painters looking at the West in a contemporary lens, not the traditional Native American wildlife, cowboys and Indians, so to speak, but looking at it through the lens of the 80s, 90s, and early 21st century. And it's artists like Billy Schenck here who made that connection. Billy Schenck, a pop artist who briefly worked in the factory with Andy Warhol, taking a very flat, almost comic book, almost graphic arts approach to a scene of a very untraditional Western figure, this gorgeous woman here with the desperado reflected in her Ray-Ban sunglasses, a very modern interpretation of the West. And that's what this New West Gallery is all about here at the James Museum. And it's got some of the most prominent contemporary artists, and we'll keep walking along, and we see another great picture here by Billy Schenck with the Native American figure and the Cadillac. Again, modern imagery, modern symbology. We've got the palm trees up here. This is not saguaro cactus and tumbleweeds that you typically see in a Western scene. So this is playing with how Native people are finding their way in a contemporary world. We come down here, look at this great Tony Aveda totem picture, or excuse me, piece. Obviously, we're used to seeing paintings from Tony Aveda. Very unusual to see this totem, but a really interesting piece there. Another absolute icon of contemporary Western painting, Western art, Ed Mell. This is as representational of Ed Mell as you're going to get. We see the mountains, we see the sun rays streaking through some storm clouds. This geographic, almost in a sense, cubist, you could say, but very flat, very non-realistic, super geometric edges and lines, highly representative of Ed Mell's work. This one from 2013, Ed Mell, one of the most influential contemporary Western artists you'll find, and you can see his influence plainly when you read any of the contemporary Western art magazines, because there are so many people now trying to paint like Ed Mell. But he was the first to, these sort of refractions of light and this angular, very linear, geometric style. This is Ed Mell, and you will see him in every meaningful Western art museum in the country. And this is a classic representation. Another classic representation of a great contemporary artist is right here. John Nieto, who passed away recently, I believe passed away in 2017 or 2018, is an artist I was turned on to at Ventana Gallery in Santa Fe. That's who represents his estate. He's known for these pieces where he takes classic art devices and transfers them to Western imagery. And what's the classic device here? Okay, so I'll ask you, where do you see Vincent van Gogh's influence in this piece? Well, Vincent van Gogh was famous for doing this split background. So many of Van Gogh, whether it's the sunflowers or his portraits, he would paint this straight line across. On top would be one side, on the bottom would be the other. And Nieto, a great student of art history, is referencing Van Gogh here. He's also more obviously referencing the James Earl Fraser end of the trail sculpture, which is represented here. That picture is in Oklahoma City, I believe, at the National Cowboy Museum, and this painting is titled "Not Necessarily the End of the Trail" after Fraser. You have this weary, worn down, seemingly defeated native person on horseback, and that's what the end of the trail sculpture by Fraser shows. Fraser's a white person. Nieto is a native, and he's saying, no, we're not gone yet. We're not dead just yet. And that's why the title of this painting, Not Necessarily the End of the Road, but Nieto is very well known for these wild neon, the chartreuse and the teals and the pinks, those fantastic colors. We'll see this again over here, and this is really a representative of Van Gogh with the singular figure here, the portrait. It's also, Van Gogh did this a lot, where the horizon line, so to speak, or not the horizon line, but the background, it doesn't match up. It starts here and it ends over here. So a great reference to art history, great colors. Obviously, we talk about the Modern West Gallery. This is a spectacular portrait here. Coors is the One is the name of it, from John Nieto here at the James Museum of Western and Wildlife Art.